Greetings all, I'm Aaron Mills, and welcome back to the Riverdale Vlogs, episode 12, Anatomy of a Murder. And yes, the rumors are true. We do find out in this episode who killed Jason Blossom. And it's a lot to unpack. So let's get started, shall we? And I'm going to try to stick to everything as it happens in the episode, but I might, like always, jump around because I could and probably will forget something along the way. So, let's start off. First off, we pick up exactly where the last episode ended with Archie and Veronica and Betty at Pop's looking for Jughead, and FP having been arrested for murder. The first thing they decide to do is, since they realize that the gun that was found by the police wasn't actually there when Archie and Veronica searched the Jones trailer. They go to their parents. They go to Archie's mom and dad and Hermione and Betty's mom and tell them what's going on. And naturally they're unhappy about it, but they're trying to get them to go to the sheriff to prove that FP didn't kill Jughead. Now didn't kill Jughead, didn't kill Jason. Jesus Christ. Anyway, obviously the parents are not happy about this. Hermione especially, who just wants this whole thing to finally be over, so she doesn't have to go in there. Like I said, it's getting to a point where like the Andrews are like the only decent parents in Riverdale. Archie's mom, Mary, is apparently an attorney in this universe, and pretty much points out that yes, even though that may be true, because Archie and Veronica entered the place illegally and they broke into it, any evidence they find would be inadmissible in court. So that didn't work out all that well for them. So everybody goes home, and, later Betty's still worried about Jughead, and Archie decides to go look for Jughead. Jughead himself has apparently had enough, and he gets a bus ticket to Toledo where his mom and his sister are. And he calls his mom to let him know he's coming. And in a truly, truly heartbreaking scene, we see Jughead on the phone. We don't hear what his mom says, but from his reactions, we know exactly what she told him. She told him not to come. And that's just like, wow, really? Whatever happened must have been really, really bad, or something's going on for that. It's just like, wow, what the hell? Seriously. Anyway, so after that, Veronica is at home. After that, Veronica is at home at her place, and she's and her mom's frantically searching for passports because she's panicking because she doesn't know what FP is going to say, and it might implicate her, might implicate Hiram. And everything that she's done might come out, and, so they're looking for it. And so she's panicking. Veronica's barely hanging on, and, so, yeah, that kind of has problems there. They try to find, let's see, then Archie and Betty go to the bus station, and they can't find, and it's locked, of course, and they don't know where they're going. And Veronica calls Archie, and Archie tells her what they're doing. And Veronica's like, "Why didn't you call me on this? You were on a manhunt, and you didn't call me." And it's like saying, "Well, we thought he'd be at the bus station, but we don't know where he is, but it's locked, and and it's closed." And Veronica says, "Well, what's the one place in Riverdale that's open 24 hours?" Which is, of course, Pop's. And there's Jughead looking defeated, and the three of them show up and apologize for going behind his back, and he's not happy about it until they finally tell him that. So they go to Pop's and they apologize and tell Jughead what they found, or more accurately, what they didn't find. And so they go to the police station to try to tell the sheriff what happened. But by that point, FP has already confessed and had some pretty intimate details about what happened. So this is what he claims happened. This is what he claims happened. Jason came to him at the bar and asked him for a way out of town. Wanted a car and some operating cash. To which FP said, "Okay, fine. You do. I'll get you the car and I'll get you the cash. In return, you need to drive this stuff to wherever you're going. You need to deliver this stuff, these drugs, to where they're going." So he gets him the car, gets him the cash and the drugs, and gets it in there. Now FP realizes that he puts two and two together and realizes that he's Jason Blossom, Cliff Blossom's son, the richest man in town. So FP got the bright idea to, after hearing the plan that Jason had to have he and Cheryl roll across the river, him get out, them fake an accident and fake Jason's death, to kidnap Jason and hold him for ransom, which is where the ligature marks came from, because he kidnapped him, took him to the bar, and kept him in the basement where nobody goes. According to FP, Jason then got free, and as a result, FP shot him. And then he wrapped the body in plastic, put it in a freezer for a while, for a week or so, since he kidnapped Jason on July 4th and kept him in there for a week. And then after the police were done dredging the river, and after everything died down, that's when he dumped the body, because he knew the police wouldn't look in the river again since they didn't find anything. So that's what he claimed happened. We'll get into that in a minute. So following that, let's see what happens next. Yeah. With the revelation that FP confessed to the crime, the next day at school, Jughead shows up unexpectedly. Everybody expects him to be gone. He said he wasn't coming in because he had to be grilled by Sheriff Keller. And he comes in, he just walks up to Cheryl and just says, "I'm sorry," and Cheryl just starts wailing on him. But in the way of schools, the way schools are, Jughead's instantly seen as the troublemaker because it caused the outburst. So Mr. Weatherby grills him in there and takes him out and all that. Betty says she's not ready to give up on trying to prove Jughead's dad's innocent, and Jughead's still just, given that his dad confessed, it's just like, that's it, let it go, we're done. And, and he's tired of waiting for his dad to do the right thing. So, that night at the Cooper house, Betty hears a noise and she goes out, and there's her mom with the gun that belonged to Miss Grundy. That would be my guess, is it never left the Cooper house. It is not the same gun that killed Jason, so that theory's out the window. I'm pretty sure this whole Miss Grundy thing, not necessarily red herring, but probably an abandoned plot line when the backlash hit, when the initial word about the series came out. So my guess is that whole Jennifer Garrison, Miss Grundy plot line, unless they're planning on doing something for season 2 where there's some big twist at the end of the next episode, because there is one more episode after this for this season. I don't think we're going to be seeing her again. I think that plot line was pretty much wrapped up and thrown out because of the backlash that it got. Basically that night, so anyways, I was saying, so Alice and Betty go downstairs where they hear the noise, and there's Hal. And yeah, it turns out that Hal was the one who did, in fact, break into Sheriff Keller's home and steal all his murder board stuff. Basically trying to make sure that there was no evidence that connected what happened to Jason to the Coopers in any way. The interesting thing is that FP wound up confessing to stealing all that stuff. No idea why, at least not yet, anyway. And Hal's not sure why he would do that, since he knows it was him. And yeah, Hal was available, Hal broke in, and I guess I misread the entire expression on his face, because it wasn't surprise, it was panic, which was just taking it all and frantically going through it, I guess. Okay, fair enough, I misread that scene, Then there's the bigger bombshell, which is arguably bigger than what happened. Because guess what, gang? It turns out there actually is incest in this show. Accidental incest, but incest nonetheless. Because Great-Grandpappy Cooper, who was killed by Great-Grandpappy Blossom, was actually Great-Grandpappy Blossom's brother. So that whole branch of the family, after the murder, cut ties with the rest of the Blossom clan and changed their last name to Cooper. So, yeah, they're cousins. Betty and Polly and Cheryl and Jason are cousins. Third cousins. And it's just like, wow, okay, yeah, yeah. So, accidental incest, fun. So with this revelation, the entire family finally comes together to get Polly out of the house, out of the Blossom house. So they go to the Blossoms in the middle of the night. They charge out, they say what's going on, and they accuse Clifford of killing Jason because of it. But the Blossoms, being the Blossoms, have a reaction that you wouldn't expect. They're like, what could be more purely Blossom then? And it's like, the Polly and the Coopers are disgusted by the sheer thing of that. Even Polly, when she finds it, she's like, what? Oh God. And she looks like she's about to throw up. But they're no big deal because Clifford says, what's the big deal? It's not like they're brother and sister. They're what? Third cousins? So they bring Polly home. And, but see, this brings in an interesting twist, because if the Blossoms weren't all that upset about Jason and Polly getting together because they were cousins, then what was the problem? Why was Jason trying to leave then? Admittedly, it could have been just to get away from the Coopers, but that didn't seem right, because the Coopers wouldn't have had the reach. I don't know. Especially if he wanted to get away from Riverdale and not even have the Blossoms pull him back. See, that's the thing. Why would they do that? Yeah, and Cheryl brings this up to her mom and thinks, well, if it wasn't about Polly, then it had to have been something about the business, because Daddy said he was grooming him for the business, and pretty much that he didn't have the stomach for it. And, starts playing what if with her mom, and her mom flips out because Polly's like, or was it you? And she grabs Cheryl and hauls her out to the barn where, just here it is, this dark, sticky secret, and it's just the maple syrup barn, where we've seen it before, all the barrels of maple syrup. Which, again, like I said, the intrigue of maple syrup has often been one of those things that just seems a little bit weird, even for this series. So, back with Jughead and Archie, Archie comes home and Fred has gotten a call from Mr. Weatherby saying that Jughead should probably, because of the tension in the situation, Jughead should probably finish out the rest of the year being homeschooled. And so Jughead's been kicked out of Riverdale High. And, and Archie's like, that's not fair. And it's like, I know it isn't. And Fred's like, but I'm not his legal guardian. And I can't, and I'm more concerned about protecting you. So, and Jughead happens to overhear this, and Fred says, well, maybe you should go to Chicago with your mom. And Archie's like, I wasn't even considering it, Dad, but maybe I should. Yeah, if it keeps you out of trouble, yeah, I'm fine with that. And so Jughead goes to sleep in the garage that night, because he just feels like he's not wanted anywhere. And, the next day, Archie gets him up, and they go to talk to Archie's mom at Pop's, and she had pretended to be FP's lawyer and goes and talks to him and all that and everything, and pretty much, she basically tells Jughead that it just doesn't look good with everything and all his prior charges and everything else. It doesn't look good for him. But then she brings up one interesting thing. FP did not use his one phone call to call an attorney or to call Jughead or anyone else. He called Joaquin, not Joaquin, excuse me. He called Joaquin, and that was interesting why. Archie, Betty, Veronica, Jughead, and Kevin get Joaquin and talk to him, And Joaquin tells him that he assisted FP in disposing of the body. He didn't see the murder. All he knows is that he went to the bar, went down to the basement, and FP had him help clean up the blood and put Jason's body on ice. So after that, so Joaquin also tells him that there was one other serpent who went down there, and that was Mustang, which was the serpent that Archie got into a fight with when they went to the bar that one time. Joaquin takes them to find Mustang, who lives in like this motel on the south side of town, the bad side of town, which, you know, doesn't look all that bad, honestly. But they go to this motel, and they go inside, and they find that Mustang is dead from a heroin overdose in the bathtub. Joaquin's immediately like, okay, time for me to go, and Kevin helps him split, and all that. Meanwhile, Archie and Betty call the sheriff. Now, Joaquin immediately leaves his out, and if you're a Black Mirror fan, there's a great little reference there, because he's on a bus to San Junipero. If you've seen that episode of Black Mirror, you know why that's funny. Anyway, so Joaquin's about to leave, and, but before he does, he says, listen, I don't know, I didn't want to say this in front of your friends, because I don't know if it's going to help or if it's going to hurt, but, and Joaquin tells Kevin where the bag with Jason's varsity jacket is, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. Speaking of bags, back at the motel, you know, just as the sheriff is asking what the hell is going on and how did you know this guy lived here, one of his deputies shows up and with a bag full of money. Yeah, that bag full of money. The bag full of money with the cash from Hiram Lodge in it. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if this is a glitch. Again, I'm not entirely sure on some of my details, and when this series is done, about a week after that, it's all going to be on the CW. So I'm going to binge watch the whole series from beginning to end and see what I can tie together that I may have missed in these other vlogs. So there's going to be at least 2 more vlogs for this season, so don't panic. Anyway, so they find the bag full of money. Now, what makes this interesting, at least as far as I'm concerned, because again, I could be wrong, but if I recall correctly, the last time we saw that bag, that actual bag, Hermione did not pay off the serpents with that bag. She took that bag to Mayor McCoy. So why the hell is it there? Interesting question, which we don't get an answer to in this episode. So the sheriff is naturally, Hermione Lodge, what are your initials on this bag? And then Veronica says, no, those are my dad's initials. He's been doing business with the serpents, and Hermione tells her to shut up and that they're not going to talk to anyone, say any more about that without a lawyer present. Like other people who have been doing these vlogs have noticed, this show is making a big deal about, you know, putting Archie in Jason's place, and it's just very, very strange. I don't know if it's actually going anywhere or if they just decided to run with it as a theme at this point, or if it's just like a little running gag or something. I don't know. Anyway, as Archie's standing there perplexed because Archie, as we've mentioned, Archie Andrews is not a thinker. Archie Andrews is a doer, and that's what he does. So Betty's like feeling the pockets. She finds a hole in one of the pockets, and knowing that whenever you have a hole in your pocket, you tend to lose stuff in the lining of your jacket, she feels around and they find a USB drive. And they put the USB drive in Jughead's computer and watch what's on it. And yeah, that's the reactions we saw in the trailer. Because yes, that actually is a video of who killed Jason Blossom. Why? Because apparently FP set up a camera in the room with Jason. Probably to keep an eye on him, just in case he actually did escape. Because yeah, FP did not kill. While FP may have kidnapped Jason, may have held him prisoner, and may have disposed of the body, he did not kill Jason. So that leaves the question of who did. Well, as we find that out almost fairly damn quickly, because as soon as they watch the video, Betty's on the phone and calls Cheryl, telling her she needs to get out of the house. Cheryl goes downstairs, stands by her mother, and her dad looks up and says, "What is it, Cheryl?" And she says, again, one of the, Cheryl may be, kind of two-dimensional as a character, but they give her some great lines. She's just like, "You did a bad thing, Daddy, and now everyone knows." So yeah, then we go to commercial, and we come back from commercial, and yes, we get confirmation that, yes, that Clifford Blossom showed up at the bar, took the ring from Jason, and shot him in the head. Again, don't know exactly why. And then word gets out, and they send Betty's mom with the USB drive to the mayor and the sheriff, and they see it, and so a warrant gets issued for Clifford Blossom. And they drive, and the sheriff go, and, and then, of course, Jughead tries to make the case to get his dad out, but the sheriff rightfully points out that even if he didn't actually pull the trigger, it's still obstruction of justice, perjury, false confessions, tampering with a body, tampering with a crime scene, tampering with evidence. He's essentially an accessory after the fact, pretty much, and the kidnapping charges. So even if he didn't commit murder, he's still in jail and still broke the law and still will most likely be going to prison for all of that. But when the word gets out that it wasn't FP, and that it had nothing to do with Hiram Lodge, everything kind of, Veronica goes home, and her mom, and she apologizes to her mom. Her mom says, "We all make mistakes." And then she says, "Yeah, it's good news. Daddy's coming home." So yes, Hiram Lodge is coming to Riverdale. And if you know anything about Hiram Lodge, this is going to make things really, really interesting as we go along. And then finally, the police show up at the Blossom house, and Cheryl and Penelope are out there waiting for them, and point the sheriff in the direction of the bar, which is where they say Cliff went. They get into the barn, and yeah, it looks like Cliff has hung himself. But that's not all, because there's about 4 barrels of maple syrup that are open on the floor. But there's not just maple syrup in there. There's packages in there, which look an awful lot like the packages Jughead and Betty found in the back of the back of Jason and Polly's getaway car. So yeah, it would appear that the Blossom maple syrup empire is actually founded on drug money. Which now begs the question, if that's the case, did Cliff actually commit suicide? Or was he forced to do so by Penelope and Cheryl in an effort to try to wrap things up in a neat little bow? Which is what happened. Which is what Cliff was trying to do with FP, because he went to FP and told him that unless he confessed to everything, and that's why he confessed to stealing the stuff from the sheriff's house, which, as we all know, is impossible for him to do because, he was at the drive-in that night to meet with Hermione. The sheriff finds it in there, and FP and pretty much Cliff threatened to kill Jughead if FP didn't confess to everything. And I forgot to mention this, it's really minor, but it comes up to it. Just before all the revelations come out, Jughead gets back involved in the investigation when he goes and talks to his dad, and his dad, tells him to never come back, don't see him anymore, and never come back, and all that. And Jughead realizes that his dad is lying through his teeth about killing Jason. So, really good scene between Cole Sprouse and Skeet Ulrich. I'm not going to talk any more about it because really you should see it for yourself. It's really good. It's a really good scene. Actually, most of the stuff with Cole Sprouse in this series, a little rocky at the beginning, but that's with any new series. But yeah, Cole Sprouse has actually got a lot of major chops in this series, and I really, really do like him. I like most of this cast, honestly. A couple of things made me go, okay, sure, whatever. But honestly, they've pulled it off. I think they've pulled it off pretty well for all the characters in this series. So yeah, basically that's where the episode ends. So now we know who, but we're not entirely sure on why. But, as said, there's one more episode to go, where maybe we'll get some more answers, more suspicion will probably come up, but like any good mystery, and especially if you're doing it as a TV series, the more answers you get, that just raises more questions. So we'll see what answers we do get, and what new mysteries will be set up for Season 2 of Riverdale on the next Riverdale vlog. Bye.